Some Metroidvania games don't give you time to breathe. They drop you into hostile worlds where every step feels dangerous, enemies hit hard, and the tension never really lets up. These are the games where exploration feels like a test of survival, where even regular encounters demand focus and boss-level intensity spills into every corner of the map. Progress isn't just about finding new abilities, it's about enduring relentless pressure and proving you can handle whatever the game throws at you next. Let's get started. Gestalt, Steam and Cinder is a side-scrolling action platformer set in a richly detailed steampunk world on the brink of collapse, where political unrest, ancient technology, and secret power struggles threaten to tear society apart. Players control Inayah, a highly skilled mercenary drawn into a conflict surrounding the mysterious energy source known as the Cinder, which fuels both technological progress and devastating weapons. The game unfolds across interconnected cities, factories, and underground zones, blending fast-paced melee and ranged combat with exploration and narrative-driven progression. As Inayah pushes deeper into the world, she uncovers hidden truths about the ruling forces, the origins of the Cinder, and her own past. Combat emphasizes fluid movement, precise timing, and stylish attacks against increasingly dangerous enemies and powerful bosses. Gestalt, Steam and Cinder focuses on story-heavy progression, character-driven conflict, and a dramatic steampunk setting, delivering an action experience built around momentum, atmosphere, and unfolding mystery. Nine Years of Shadows is a side-scrolling action platformer set in a world stripped of color and emotion, where a mysterious curse has drained life and vibrancy from the land. Players control Europa, a young warrior on a journey into the giant mechanical fortress known as Talos, seeking to break the curse and restore light to the world. Progression blends exploration and combat as Europa unlocks new abilities tied to elemental armors that grant distinct powers and movement options. Each area of Talos introduces new enemies, hazards, and environmental puzzles that reinforce the theme of reclaiming lost color. Boss encounters represent manifestations of despair and corruption, challenging players to master timing, positioning, and elemental switching. As Europa advances, the world gradually regains its color and identity, visually reflecting progress and hope. The game places strong emphasis on atmosphere, art direction, and narrative symbolism, rather than open-ended exploration. 9 Years of Shadows delivers a focused, emotionally driven action experience centered on restoration, growth, and overcoming loss. Inayah, Life After Gods is a side-scrolling action platformer set in a ruined sci-fi world long after the fall of godlike beings whose remnants still shape the land, following Inayah, an orphaned outcast searching for her lost tribe, while uncovering the truth behind the collapse of civilization. The game unfolds across interconnected regions filled with ancient technology, hostile factions, and corrupted guardians, blending exploration with fast, deliberate combat. Inayah wields adaptable weapons that alter her fighting style, allowing players to approach encounters with different tactics while unlocking new abilities that expand movement and access to previously unreachable areas. Progression is tied closely to narrative discovery, with environmental storytelling revealing the consequences of divine power and human ambition. Boss encounters serve as major turning points, testing mastery of combat systems and reinforcing the world's tragic history. Inayah, Life After Gods focuses on identity, survival, and the cost of fallen gods, delivering a story-driven action experience.
Switching to blades allows her to unleash lightning-fast combos, and with the flail, her strikes...
Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night is a side-scrolling action RPG and Metroidvania set in a dark, gothic world where a demonic castle has manifested, unleashing monsters upon the land. Players control Miriam, an orphan cursed by alchemical experimentation that slowly crystallizes her body, as she enters the castle to stop the forces behind its creation and uncover the truth about her past. The game centers on exploration-driven progression, with a massive interconnected castle filled with secret passages, hidden rooms, and powerful enemies that gradually open up as new abilities are acquired. Combat blends melee weapons, magic, and supernatural shards stolen from defeated enemies, allowing players to customize Miriam's fighting style in deep and flexible ways. Each area introduces new threats, traversal challenges, and atmospheric environments that reinforce the castle's oppressive presence. Boss battles act as major milestones, demanding mastery of movement, attacks, and shard usage. Narrative elements unfold through characters encountered within the castle, and discoveries tied to its origins.
To save a prince.
Are you now? Remember, Sargon.
Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is a side-scrolling action platformer that reimagines the Prince of Persia series with fast, precise combat and Metroidvania-style exploration set in the mythological world of Mount Koth. Players control Sargon, a skilled warrior of the Immortals, sent to rescue a kidnapped prince and uncover the secrets hidden within a corrupted, time-warped land. The game blends fluid platforming with aggressive, skill-based combat, allowing Sargon to chain sword attacks, parries, and special abilities while navigating traps, puzzles, and shifting environments. Progression revolves around unlocking time-based powers that enhance mobility in combat, opening new paths and strategies across interconnected areas. Boss encounters are a major focus, testing reflexes, pattern recognition, and mastery of abilities rather than raw stats. The narrative unfolds through exploration and character interactions, emphasizing fate, sacrifice, and the manipulation of time. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown delivers a modern, fast-paced take on the franchise, centered on precision, momentum, and tightly designed action platforming challenges. Record of Lodoss War: Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth is a side-scrolling action platformer set in the fantasy world of Lodoss, following Deedlit, a high elf who awakens trapped inside a mysterious, ever-shifting labyrinth disconnected from time and reality. The game blends classic Metroidvania exploration with fast, fluid combat as Deedlit navigates interconnected areas filled with monsters, traps, and magical hazards while searching for answers and a way to escape. A core mechanic revolves around switching between elemental spirits of wind and fire, each granting different abilities, movement traits, and combat advantages that are essential for survival, traversal, and puzzle solving. Combat emphasizes agility, aerial control, and precise timing, with Deedlit using swords, magic, and spirit powers to overcome enemies and intense boss encounters tied to the series' lore. Progression steadily unlocks new movement options and abilities that open previously inaccessible paths, encouraging backtracking and mastery of the labyrinth's layout. The narrative unfolds through encounters, memories, and symbolism, reflecting Deedlit's emotional state.
We train, we fight, to push our limits. But what are yours when you have nothing to lose?
Death's Gambit: Afterlife is an expanded and refined version of the original Death's Gambit, presenting a dark fantasy action RPG where players control Soren, a warrior bound to death and sent to a mysterious land to hunt powerful, immortal beings. The game blends Metroidvania-style exploration with Souls-inspired combat, emphasizing deliberate movement, stamina management, and careful timing during encounters. The world is vast and interconnected, filled with ancient ruins, cursed landscapes, and hidden paths that gradually open as new abilities and traversal skills are unlocked. Combat revolves around weapon choice, character builds, and learning enemy and boss patterns, with bosses serving as major narrative and mechanical milestones that demand patience and mastery. Afterlife significantly expands the experience with new areas, redesigned encounters, deeper progression systems, and multiple endings shaped by player choices and boss outcomes. The story explores themes of mortality, purpose, and rebellion against fate, unfolding through environmental storytelling and cryptic character interactions. Blade Chimera is a side-scrolling action platformer set in a dark cyberpunk world, where advanced technology, demonic forces, and human corruption collide. Players control Shin, a skilled hunter working for an organization tasked with eliminating supernatural threats that plague a decaying city. The game centers on fluid combat and exploration, with Shin wielding conventional weapons alongside the Chimera Blade, a sentient weapon that grants unique abilities affecting movement, combat, and puzzle solving. Progression unfolds across interconnected urban zones, laboratories, and ruined districts filled with hostile enemies and environmental hazards. As new powers are unlocked, players gain access to previously unreachable areas, encouraging methodical exploration and backtracking. Combat emphasizes precision, adaptability, and smart use of abilities, rather than overwhelming stats. Boss encounters serve as major turning points, testing mastery of mechanics and reinforcing the world's dangerous power structures. The narrative gradually reveals the origins of the Chimera Blade and the true nature of the city's corruption. Castlevania Dominus Collection is a curated compilation that brings together some of the most celebrated handheld-era Castlevania titles, focusing on the series, action platforming, and Metroidvania roots built around gothic atmosphere, exploration, and precision combat. The collection includes multiple interconnected adventures set in the Castlevania universe, each centered on exploring massive castles filled with monsters, traps, hidden paths, and powerful bosses, while gradually unlocking new abilities that expand movement and access to new areas. Gameplay emphasizes deliberate combat with a wide range of weapons, magic systems, and character progression options that allow players to tailor their playstyle. Each entry offers its own mechanical identity, from ability-based exploration to unique magic and combat systems, while maintaining the series' core focus on map discovery and mastery. Boss encounters act as major progression gates, demanding pattern recognition, timing, and efficient use of abilities. The Dominus collection modernizes these classics with quality-of-life improvements, while preserving their original structure and challenge.
この石棺、他のものよりも随分と大きいわね。
Frontier Hunter, Erza's Wheel of Fortune is a side-scrolling action platformer set in a vibrant fantasy world on the edge of discovery, following Erza, a skilled bounty hunter drawn into a growing crisis tied to ancient technology, powerful factions, and the mysterious Wheel of Fortune. The game blends Metroidvania-style exploration with fast, fluid combat, as Erza travels through interconnected regions filled with monsters, rival hunters, ruins, and hidden paths that gradually open up through new abilities and traversal upgrades. Combat emphasizes agility, combo-based attacks, and smart positioning, allowing players to chain melee strikes, special skills, and evasive maneuvers against increasingly dangerous enemies. As the journey progresses, Erza uncovers political tensions, lost secrets, and threats that extend beyond simple bounty work, with boss encounters serving as major milestones that test mastery of movement and combat mechanics. Frontier Hunter Erza's Wheel of Fortune focuses on momentum-driven gameplay, character progression, and a steadily unfolding narrative, delivering a modern action platforming experience.
For the miracle.
Blasphemous 2 is a side-scrolling action platformer that continues the dark, religiously inspired world of CV Stodia, following the penitent one after his rebirth into a land reshaped by new miracles and horrors. The game expands on Metroidvania-style exploration with a more open-world structure, allowing players to navigate interconnected regions filled with grotesque enemies, environmental traps, and hidden secrets that gradually unfold through new abilities and tools. Combat is deeper and more flexible, introducing multiple distinct weapons that change attack patterns, movement options, and tactical approaches during encounters. Boss fights remain a central focus, delivering large, visually striking battles that demand pattern recognition, precise timing, and mastery of each weapon's strengths. The narrative is conveyed through cryptic dialogue, symbolism, and environmental storytelling, exploring themes of guilt, faith, punishment, and rebirth. Blasphemous 2 refines movement, pacing, and progression, while preserving the oppressive atmosphere and brutal challenge that define the series. Eden's Guardian is a side-scrolling action platformer set in a ruined sci-fi world where humanity's last refuge, Eden, has fallen into chaos after a catastrophic collapse. Players take on the role of a lone guardian created to protect Eden, now forced to explore its shattered remains to uncover what went wrong and eliminate the threats that overran it. The game blends exploration-focused progression with deliberate, skill-based combat as players navigate interconnected areas filled with hostile machines, corrupted systems, and environmental dangers. Movement and combat abilities are gradually unlocked, allowing access to new paths and encouraging backtracking to uncover secrets and hidden upgrades. Combat emphasizes timing, positioning, and learning enemy patterns rather than overwhelming force. Boss encounters act as major checkpoints, testing mastery of movement and combat mechanics while revealing fragments of Eden's history. The narrative unfolds through environmental storytelling and sparse dialogue, reinforcing the themes of loss, duty, and artificial life. Beyond the Ice Palace 2 is a dark fantasy side-scrolling action platformer that revives the cult classic with a modernized approach, following a cursed king who rises from death to reclaim his fallen kingdom and confront the forces that betrayed him. The game centers on deliberate, weighty combat and precise platforming as the protagonist traverses ruined castles, frozen wastelands, cursed forests, and nightmarish strongholds filled with traps, monsters, and hostile guardians. A defining mechanic is the use of magical chains, which function both as weapons and traversal tools, allowing players to attack enemies, swing across gaps, manipulate the environment, and solve platforming challenges. Progression blends classic stage-based structure with light exploration, encouraging mastery of movement and combat rather than fast reflex spam. Boss encounters are a major focus, presenting large, imposing foes that demand pattern recognition, timing, and careful positioning. The game emphasizes atmosphere and tone through grim visuals and oppressive environments, reinforcing its themes of revenge, resurrection, and lost royalty. Heidelberg 1693 is a side-scrolling action platformer set in a dark, plague-ridden version of 17th century Germany, where the city of Heidelberg has fallen into chaos due to war, disease, and supernatural forces. Players take on the role of Marie, a young woman searching for her kidnapped sister while navigating burning streets, ruined buildings, and hostile environments filled with soldiers, monsters, and nightmarish threats born from fear and suffering. The game blends classic action platforming with survival horror elements, emphasizing deliberate movement, careful combat, and environmental hazards rather than fast-paced aggression. Progression is driven by advancing through tightly designed stages, overcoming enemy encounters, and surviving deadly traps that reflect the brutality of the era. The narrative unfolds through the setting itself, using historical atmosphere and bleak imagery to reinforce themes of loss, desperation, and resilience. Heidelberg 1693 delivers a grim, old-school action experience focused on tension, historical horror, and methodical gameplay. The Mummy Demastered is a side-scrolling action platformer that reimagines the Mummy film universe as a dark, retro-inspired Metroidvania set in a cursed modern-day world overrun by undead forces. Players take on the role of an elite operative from Prodigium, tasked with stopping Princess Ahmanet and containing the supernatural outbreak spreading through ruined cities, underground tombs, and ancient temples. The game blends exploration-driven progression with tight gunplay and platforming, as new weapons and abilities gradually open up access to previously unreachable areas. A unique mechanic drops the player's gear upon death, forcing them to reclaim their fallen operative's body to recover equipment, adding tension and risk to exploration. Combat emphasizes positioning, ammo management, and learning enemy behavior rather than overwhelming firepower. Boss encounters punctuate progress with challenging, pattern-based fights that test mastery of movement and weapons. The narrative unfolds through environmental storytelling and sparse dialogue, maintaining a moody, horror-tinged atmosphere.